Before our mouths ever open, our body and face is already negotiating. You can't even fake positivity. It just has to be there. We have to build the client's emotional state. Sometimes we're starting 2 inches from the finish line, and sometimes we're starting in the parking lot behind the starting. Your job is to set the temperature in the room and get the client over to buying mode. It's on me. We have to take utter responsibility. It's not that we smile because we're happy. Oftentimes we will become happy because we smile.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Waste No Day podcast. Your host, Nate and Brian, hanging out with you again. Looking forward to another great episode. This time, we're going to be talking about how your emotional state affects your sales process and perhaps your sales outcomes. It's going to be a great conversation, and I think it's going to be relevant to all of you who are looking to have a great day, even when you're having a bad day internally. So before we get to that, we're going to spend a little bit of time having a bit of an introduction, and that's just going to be me and Brian today. So we're going to kick it over to him to start us off with a quote.
One of the founding fathers, quote unquote, of modern psychology in the United States, at least, William James, said, "The greatest discovery of my generation is that a human being can alter his life by altering his attitude."
Nice. I think so. That's going to tie in nicely, if I can say so, with the attitude piece being so critical to what we're talking about. And, you know, being very frank, I can tell you just my attitude from when I come home from work and walk through that door and how I interact with my kids and my family is significantly changed based upon how the day went, if I let it, right? And that's the point about the attitude.
Yeah, and this one we'll touch a little bit more on not probably, but the external display of that attitude and its effect on sales, negotiations, training, leadership conversations, chats with the team, interviews when our audience being either interviewing for a role or interviewing someone for a role, all is going to play into this big time today.
Yeah. And you're right about that, Brian. I mean, the attitude, our emotional state, the things that make our mind go up and down, if you will, strong and weak, they affect so many areas. And like more specifically, all the people that surround us. You know, I've been accused once or twice, Brian, about having RBF, and I know that there can be a stigma associated with my face and how people feel about approaching me. And so, if I want to be viewed differently, I know that I have to go above and beyond. Like I have to be overcompensated on welcoming or being a smile or just starting up a conversation, because my natural bent and my natural look is not necessarily inclined to make people feel that way.
Right. Resting bummer face, I think is what you're referring to. Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Right. I've had a conversation with many of the men who still work there and a few women that started with, AOB, does Nate hate me? Or AOB, I know Nate doesn't like me and everything, but what do you think? How do you think his response would be if I asked him for this? And, you know, if it's something that's going to cost profit dollars, I'm like, dude, he will rip your head off. Don't even bother.
Yeah. But you're exactly right there, Brian. And that type of attitude, even if it's unintentional, the perception of the attitude can have an impact on people. And the perception of the attitude, even how I'm being perceived or feel like I'm being perceived, can be influential as well. But I think today what we're going to be talking about, at least in terms of the topic, is the real swings, like your real emotional swings. When you are feeling that high, or when you're feeling low or discouraged or doubtful or depressed, when you're feeling just kind of monotone and detached or disconnected from things, there's so many different variations of that. And allowed to its own devices, that will have an impact on your outcomes. And if you're feeling bad about yourself or you're feeling negative about life, it's probably going to bleed over into your enthusiasm and presentation towards a client. And unfortunately, that has a level of cascading events, because what happens when you aren't making sales and having closing and having fun? You feel more depressed. And when you feel depressed, you're not exactly looking forward to making more sales and getting more things done.
You look
And then
and smell depressed, and the client can feel it. And we talked about I don't remember what the university was that did the study, or who the people were, which is even worse, because I don't care if the university gets credit, but I love for the actual researchers to get credit, where they put people in regular situations, had them wearing t-shirts, got them to sweat a little bit, had some other people hooked up to fMRI machines, just brain scan machines, and they had them smell the shirts, and there was no real reaction in the brain. And then they had people they were scaring, like people who are afraid of heights on roller coasters and scary movies and that kind of thing. And they had them sweat in the shirts while they were scared. And then they brought those shirts into the control group hooked up to the brain scan machines and had them smell those t-shirts, and their amygdalas fired up. Cortisol started pumping, stress,
Right. Yeah.
Right. Adrenaline. And it proved beyond the shadow of a doubt that we can actually smell emotions in other people. And that's tough, because we feel like we can paint a fake smile on and all should be well. And then we walk out and call our homies or our sales manager or whatever. I'm like, I don't know what their problem is, man. I did everything right. And it might feel like that, but it's not the case, because it sucks too. Because like everywhere we look, it's just one more thing stacked against the guy who's out there trying to crush it for his family and his team and his client. And there's just one more thing stacked against us. And now the more we dig, the more we realize you can't even fake positivity. It just has to be there, right? Which is why it's so important, like in the GoPro selling system that we teach in bluecollarcloser.com at the Waste No Day Bootcamp, March 19th and 20th, 2026 in Phoenix. wastenoday.bootcamp.com. If you don't have your ticket yet, get up in there if it's not too late. If it's full, there will be another one. Be one of those people who's made the wait list, and hope you don't get stuck on the next one, which has happened before. So hurry up and get there, wastenoday.bootcamp.com or bluecollarcloser.com. Check out the online version. And gratitude's the number one piece, right? It all starts and ends with genuine levels of felt, real gratitude. And it's role played. We role play how we do this with gratitude, because it has to feel real in the group setting. So in the team, has to feel real to the person that you're practicing on. And when you get in the home, it has to be real, right? So one of the role play games we do with gratitude, the gratitude gauntlet, is I'll start, and let's say there's 15 people in the room. I'll say, Siri, give me a number between 1 and 15. And that number's 4, and it's Nate. I'm like, Nate, come on up. And Nate walks up, and I look at Nate. We'll just do it. And I'll say, Nate, there are some things I appreciate about you, bro. I really enjoy having you as part of this team. In this case, we'll say the Waste No Day team, which is, 2 of us. And that's 3 of us. We're snuggled up in the passenger seat, right? You listening are as big a part of Waste No Day team as Nate and me. And that is, 1, your level nature, right? I mean, there are times we'll have a little chit chat before the episode, and I'll find out Nate's in a bad mood or just having a rough day, not feeling it today, right? As soon as the mic pipes up and the headphones go hot, it's over. He turns it off, and he turns on, I'm here for the person in the driver's seat of this truck that we're cruising in, right? I'm here to bring as much info as possible to make the day of the technician, CSR, dispatcher, part runner, apprentice, salesperson, owner, manager, as much value to you for the next hour as humanly possible, right? And it was never any different when we worked together in the same building for all those years, where I could go in his office and see he's struggling, and I would take a couple shots at him, because that's usually what loosens Nate up. Just bring him down a peg, I've learned. But I'd put the business hat on and be like, we got to chat about this. And he would just snap to, and you'd get it done. And you're always very level, even keeled, always. And you're a freaking workhorse, man. I especially appreciate the fact that you are a grinder to the nth degree. Like, you have a weight at all times of the things that you're responsible for and supposed to get done. And you can't hardly breathe until those things are done. And you need them done at the highest possible quality level you can do them at. So I appreciate all the time I've been a partner with you, and on the show and in business, and a friend. And I can't wait to see you coming up here in April. It's going to be a great time. We might even bomb Ben Franklin and A1 real quick for some photo ops and some meet and greets and handshakes and kissing babies. I can't wait. I'm pumped. And I really appreciate you being part of this team, part of the Lancaster team, and part of my small circle of close friends. Right? Now, that's a role play exercise. But did you feel like I meant that?
I did. I'm blushing over here.
Yeah, Academy Award level acting over here.
Getting hot. Yeah, seriously.
Took classes to be able to do that.
No, stop, Brian. Stop. It's too much. But go on.
Yeah. So this is the exercise, right? And then Nate and I are done, because I don't usually have the other person do it to me, because that feels pretty self-serving, because I'm leading the meeting.
Yeah.
So I say, all right, it's all of your turn to do me now. So I'll turn it over, and usually with the first couple, I'll let Siri pick the first two that are coming up. They'll come up, and they have to do it for each other, right? Genuine gratitude. We all have to feel it. We all have to believe it's real. There are people that will be up there that have beef in some way, shape, or form from time to time. But guess what you get to do as a grown-up in that moment?
Settle it.
No, we're not here to settle.
But yeah, well, put it offline.
Put it aside.
That's a better way of saying it. Yeah, exactly.
Like you will with the client, if you happen to be like a winner and a Michigan Wolverine fan, and they're like a loser, an Ohio State fan. got one of those thrown in the in a review recently. Said even for a Michigan fan, Brian's still pretty good. Yeah. So you're stepping over the yard sign of the anti-team for you, the enemy team, and you push it off to the side. Now, you might bring it up as part of the warm-up process, right? But whether you do or don't, doesn't matter. And what's the real one now? Political parties, right? This is the real tense one that I'll say when I was in a truck, I had my leaning and my clients had their leaning. Wasn't nearly as militant as it is today, right?
Yeah,
it wasn't as polarizing, but yeah. So you shoulder the burden of adulthood in the conversation with the client, because we know we have a job to do. Like, we have a mission to accomplish, right? So I just put it on my shoulders to say that I'm going to humble myself in their home. They called me out for service, and I am in a service industry where my job is to serve. So put it off to the side. And in the same way, when we do the gratitude gauntlet role play game, you have to put your differences aside, and you actually have to stand there looking at someone you might be a little upset with, and you have to push through and see a reason that you're grateful that they're on the team, right? And that can be a manager, because they're in the room too, and they have to be part of the game as well, right? So you can have that one manager you just can't stand, but guess what? It doesn't matter. You're gonna you're going to do the exercise and you're going to role play like the rest of us, and you're going to be a grown up and swallow it down. Or if it's so clear that it has to be worked out, then you guys are going to hang somewhere in the shop afterwards and talk through it, right? But you get the genuine gratitude out in the whole team, hopefully, before everybody leaves. And this is the way we're walking out of the shop. And the mindset flip is like a light switch. We're feeling a different way coming out. And it works the same way with the client. In the beginning, they're not going to look at you and give you a bunch of gratitude back most of the time, right? But you feel so much better for having done that to them and see the reaction that it causes in them. And that reaction can be outright, like, holy moly. There have been several times where women have cried while I'm giving my gratitude. I think it was all the same, where it was like, one kid with a full diaper on her arm screaming, and two toddlers destroying everything, toys everywhere, and she's trying to cook. And she looks stressed out. And I would just start with, it was like the second time I ever did it too, which helped so much. And it just made me think of my mom in Southwest Detroit with no dad around, in a second floor, absolute crap hole apartment, 1 bedroom. She sleeps on the couch. We got bunk beds in the bedroom. And we're like 10-year-old, energy balls. Like, we're like puppies. And anytime we'd make a noise, the old lady downstairs would take a broom and start smashing it into her ceiling. Yeah, and I think we had to be quite a handful for mom, right? But, she was cool and she handled it. So when I see somebody going through that, I got a soft spot. And I tell them, like, can't say I know what you're going through, but I've certainly seen it firsthand in my mom, who raised me and my brother, and so on and so forth. And I just want to tell you that I appreciate everything that you're having to juggle right now. And then the fact that you're going to add me being here and doing this job to the list. And I'm going to make sure that it's as low stress as possible for you. Just pick the top option and endorse here. Right? I'm going to make sure it's as low stress as possible for you. And if there's anything I can do to make life a little bit easier while I'm here, I don't care what it is. I'll run out and get groceries, like whatever. Just don't hesitate to ask, please. And they really appreciate that. And a couple times cried while I did that, which made me regret it. Now I want to leave. Deal well with tears. So yeah, that's one way. And that's why it's so important in our training program, or our selling system, the Go Pro system. It starts with gratitude, ends with gratitude. It's the most important part of it, because it changes the relationship and the client most of the time, but more importantly, changes me going into it. It shifts what my mindset is from whatever it was to gratitude, and you can't be in a better zone than the gratitude zone.
Yeah, it's so good, Brian. And thank you for the compliments, and also for starting the episode off on just a really great perspective of things. In fact, let's continue down on that pathway by taking time to highlight somebody who has expressed that gratitude in a public manner. We always like highlighting those reviews, not only for the selfish part of how it makes us feel, but also because it shares a story.
Yeah, there's that.
Yeah, and the storytelling piece is for you, the listener, to hear how other people's lives have been impacted by different episodes, and just as an encouragement to you to keep on keeping on. So, Brian, who are we promoting in the spotlight today?
It's going to feel a little redundant, but the title of the review is 5-star. 5-star.
Okay, I got you.
Unbeatable content. Period. BLAIL2. Blail 2. Yeah.
I'm short but sweet.
Yeah, appreciate it. We agree. It's unbeatable. One of the guys in I shot a Jocko Willink Instagram video into our plumbing group chat earlier. One of the guys was like, Jocko is the best. I was like, all right, fine. We're 2-3. It was such a good video. I wish I could play it on here, but the platforms get a little weird when we play somebody else's content. But great video. I'm gonna throw it in the Waste No Day Facebook group. If you're in there, check it out. I'll throw it in there. That would have been posted February 18th if I remember to throw it in tonight.
Well, we appreciate the review, and of course, we continue to challenge ourselves and love hearing the challenges from you to keep producing unbeatable content. Speaking of that, let's jump into the rest of the show as we continue the conversation around how your feelings are affecting your day, your sales, your presentation, and your ability to influence that outcome. So, Brian, one of the things that comes to mind when I think about this was actually an episode that we did with David J.P. Phillips back on February 24th of 2025. And the title was Trigger the Right Emotions for Game-Changing Sales Communication. A fascinating cocktail episode, one of my favorites from an interviewer's perspective, episode 235. And it was just an hour long of a dude analyzing Brian and I in the interview process, which made me super nervous because this guy is like reading me like a book. And we were doing a video. I don't think we actually had the video recording, but we were doing the podcast via video. And so he could see us, we could see him. And, he was just dialoguing about all these different ways of presenting and how your body language, your tonality, your face is communicating far, far, far more than your words are. And the one concept that made me think that triggered this for me was, and I forget the word, but is a certain type of smile. Do you remember what it was, Brian?
Duquesne smile.
Duquesne smile. And essentially it's the ability to smile. Yes, that smile
Crow's
that looks
feet.
real, right? And I know you've pointed this out before, Brian, like when you look at somebody's pictures or family pictures or whatever, and you see people smiling, if you see the wrinkles next to the eyes, you can tell they are genuinely smiling, like genuinely happy in that moment. If you just see the teeth or you just see the curve of the lips and just flat eyes, I don't know that's a perfect science, but it's certainly a pretty good indicator.
It's pretty noticeable. There's a tell.
Yeah.
And if you start looking at family, you know how family pictures are, bro. You got 4 kids.
Oh yeah.
We know. It's like you've gotten everybody dressed. It's like after church and lunch, and we got this 3:00 appointment at the photographer. Everybody's tired and full and done with this day, and mom's trying to corral everybody, and everybody's getting a little attitude, and we're snapping at people like, do what mom said. And then we all face forward to the camera, and the guy's like, they try to say Phoenix. They always try to do their own thing. Cheese isn't good enough anymore. And everybody just does like a cheese. And our lips move outward and upward, but our eyes don't move. And you can look at people's pictures and see it. And it looks almost off-putting. Like, just keep a regular straight face then, right? Or if you got a really good photographer, he'll make fun of dad, right? Like take a shot at dad that makes everybody laugh. And what happens when our whole family laughs to us, even if it's about us, we laugh too, because biggest gift we're getting is the entire crew is having a great time, right? Even if it costs us a little ego, like, so what? So good photographer will get a real laugh out of the team. But it's not an easy thing, right? So you can see it. And if you start to look for it, you'll notice it. So, yeah, great point. We were training on this a little bit with the team Monday, and we talked a little bit about it on Wiser Wednesday. And Eddie Rearman, one of our techs on the Phoenix team, brought it up. We weren't talking about that. We were just going through this study that I was reading, and he brought it up. It's like, David J.P. Phillips said, introduce the angel's cocktail, which is oxytocin, maybe a little adrenaline. And to do that, you remember what he said, his biggest one is,
Was it look at a look at a family photo, I think. Yeah.
Yep. Pics of the kids,
Yeah.
family
Okay.
photos. Yeah. Yeah. And I tried to do the same thing because I trained with him a little bit before the first boot camp. And it definitely worked that first time. And then it didn't work anymore. It almost felt like I know what you're trying to do in my brain. Right. I see what you're trying to do. It's like he called the other one the devil's cocktail, which is cortisol, really probably a cortisol and adrenaline mix. But stress and anxiety, it goes the other way. It's very difficult to read as genuine, grateful, happy, positive if your brain is full of stress hormone. So yeah, introducing the Angel's cocktail, family photos. We're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves for sure, but I had each person in the meeting come up with one thing they can do or do to introduce the Angel's cocktail in their own head. And past review was a big one. People go find a certain review they remember. And when you read that review, oftentimes it puts you back in that place because our brains they actually don't really know the difference between being there and reading about it or being there and watching a video about it. It just goes into that feeling again, almost as if we're there, right? And some people had a certain music they'd listen to. Some people are like a Waste No Day episode, a YouTube video, an audio book, what have you. But you do want to have something that's your trigger to get you in a positive mental state. And some guys even said, and this, I could fall along these lines too. The biggest payday I ever had in a truck, right?
Mm.
And for a long time, it was $1,600 I made in a day. And that was a big day. And I would think back to that day because that day I called my mentor at the end of the day and I couldn't wait to get home and tell my wife. And usually I told her on the phone throughout the day, like in drive time and whatever, what I was doing. But that day we just didn't communicate. She got to come home and tell her that I broke the record. And that was a fun day. It's an awesome day. Like every client and I just saw eye to eye and lined up perfectly. And I got everything installed in the same day. And it was a beautiful day. Right. So that was one that stuck for me, but you have to have your Angel's cocktail triggers, if you will. But the question for today is, how much money has your face, your voice, your tonality, your body language cost you this year so far, right? Not your pricing, not your script / lack of a script, not your closing questions, but your face, your tonality, and body language, your emotional, temperature when you walked into someone's home. And the reason this is coming up today is because I ran into a study from 2006 by a researcher named Shirley Kopelman from the University of Michigan. Go Blue, hail to the victors. Called strategic displays of positive, negative, and neutral emotions in negotiations. Strategic displays of positive, negative, and neutral emotions in negotiations. And it was publicized in the organizational behavior and human decision processes or something like that, like a legit psychological publication. And it looked at how emotional expressions of the salesperson or the person hosting the negotiation changes the outcome in negotiation and bargaining situations. Not the words, not the data, not the prices. The emotions displayed by the person leading. So they had negotiators intentionally display positive emotion, negative emotion, right? Like frustration, or just neutral, like ice cold, right? Poker face during structured negotiations. And what they found, I thought, was fascinating, obvious, and practical, more importantly than anything, for what we do in the home services. So when the salespeople or negotiators displayed positive emotion overall, the client became more cooperative and the joint outcome improved. More overall value was created and felt. When they displayed negative emotion, the other side became more defensive and more competitive. So even when sales still happened from the frustrated party, which were way lower, even when they did happen, they sold at lower prices and the other party had negotiated for more free services, extra upgrades, and perks to be thrown in. So less value existed. They wanted more bang for their buck. They wanted to pay less bucks and get more bang for it. I know what you're thinking. You're like, Brian, you don't get it. My clients are just different here. We know. It's not you. But let's just keep going in the data. So less value existed, so the client wanted more bang for less buck. The neutral emotion party kept things transactional, right? So you give me this, I give you that. Still lower sales than the positive, but more than the negative. But it didn't inspire, like their summary of it was like, it didn't inspire creativity or collaboration toward solving the problem or achieving the goal of the client party. So how do we take that out of the university lab and drop it into the kitchen of our clients, right? Water heaters leaking. There's water on the basement floor or garage floor. Homeowners stressed, maybe even embarrassed, maybe worried about the amount of money that you're about to ask them for. We knock on the door. Before our mouths ever open, our body and face is already negotiating. If we walk in rushed, irritated from the last call, face tight, just got flipped off or did some flipping off around the corner, voice clipped, we just signaled threat and competition in the other party, right? And that's not everybody. If you're in blue collar closer or you've been to a boot camp and you know the core personality profiles, which is the 4 main buckets we put our own personalities and our clients' personalities in. Core stands for CEO, optimist, reassurer, engineer. Like the CEO personality type and the engineer personality type, they're going to be the competitive ones that you'll still very likely sell them in this high frustration mode. They'll still probably buy, but they're going to push back a lot. The chief in particular, the CEO, is going to get really into a game of tug of war with you. And if he feels like he wins at the end, he's probably still going to buy, but it's going to cost you all your commission, right? And the company's making nothing on this job. The engineer can be fight or flight. They're always happy to have a tug of war, but they'll get so detail oriented because what did Chris Voss say about your main negotiating type? It's not who you walk around as all day, every day. It's who you are when you remember Nate?
Angry?
Punched in the mouth. He said it on episode 100 of Waste No Day and in the book many times. It's who you are when you get punched in the mouth, right? It's when the stress cortisol goes up. And that's the personality you retreat to. So there's 3 things the personalities will do, as they say in Never Split the Difference: fight, flight, or make friends, right? Now the reassurer, our kindergarten teacher, Kathy Comfort, her avatar name is in the Blue Collar Closer group. She's a flight person. The reassurer is such that if she feels threatened, she's bailing. She's out. She's not going back and forth with you. She's not doing it. She's going to be very polite, minimize what he or she might feel as a threat or nervousness, be very overly kind, tell you how excited he or she is about the opportunity, and give you 4 different versions of, I'm going to think about this and get back to you. And that person is not going to get back to you. And you think you did everything right. But we're finding out that our smell may have been enough, right? A little cortisol, almost an accident on the way to the job, and in our sweat is screaming threat, right? Amygdala's firing. I don't know what's going on. So it's tough, and the deck's stacked against us. This is why it's very difficult to be great at this, but my goodness, is it worth it, right? Having 2 conversations today with one dude making several $100,000 his first year in a truck last year, and Brent Buckley, who has made over $1 million in commission many times in a year in a truck. And to separate yourself from average in this field is highly worth learning, understanding, and implementing all these things and becoming bulletproof. But it's not easy. So the homeowner very likely doesn't consciously think anything, but their nervous system does. Shoulders tighten a little, arms fold a little, wallet closes a little, and we've just reduced the size of the pie before we've even presented options, right? It's getting smaller and smaller. And if we walk in calm, grounded, warm, genuine, confident, without trying to fake anything, which they also pick up on, something completely different happens. They loosen up. Their body language opens, right? Their breathing slows and their posture just gets softer and more laid back. You know how it is. And the brain doesn't shift into fight, flight, or freeze, right? It moves into problem solving, goal hitting. And this isn't motivation talk. This is tested biology. Barbara Fredrickson's broaden and build theory explains that positive emotion literally broadens cognitive scope. So people think more clearly and creatively. We see more possibilities than we did in any other mental state. We collaborate more. And in a home service environment, that means both parties are more open to long-term solutions instead of Band-Aid repairs, right? When we're into Band-Aid, just fix it and we'll worry about it down the road. We're closed-minded. And we know for a fact that if we're in a negative mind state or in a threatened mind state, we're more closed-minded. So get them in that positive state, and we're more willing to consider replacement instead of short-term patching. We're more likely to see financing as a tool instead of a threat, right? Because we're thinking more clearly and our scope is broadened. And what Shirley Kopelman's data also showed, emotional displays changed how people interpreted intent. So when someone displayed a negative emotion, the other party assumed selfish motives with anything they were asking for. And when somebody displayed positive, gratitude, genuine emotion, the other party assumed cooperative motives. So motives that were beneficial to both of us. So you can say, I'm just trying to help you. But if your face and tone is that of someone who's annoyed, it doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what the words coming out are saying. Something deep inside your client doesn't believe you. The emotional signal overrides the words being spoken by a long shot. And you've seen it on calls, right? We've all seen this on calls. And even ourselves as a tech who knows everything about what we're looking about, diagnoses it perfectly, build super clean solutions, and everything feels like it goes perfectly, and we weren't even close when it came time to ask for the order, right? And it's not because we didn't know the right words to say, right? Everything went well. It's because the emotional temperature in the room never moved into safety and trust and collaboration. And we are the thermostat in the home. It's on me. It can't be left to the homeowner. So we have to set that emotional climate. We have to take utter responsibility for that emotional climate. And here's the tough part, man. I still get this call from seasoned techs. I've made this call late into my career where it's like, yeah, nothing's happening here, man. Dude, he was a jerk from the second I walked in. And it's like, oh, he didn't do the Peter from Family Guy thing? It's great. Great episode. Dude knocks on the door. Lois is like, it's a salesman. Peter, we're not buying anything. And he's like, no, we're not buying anything. Opens the door. All right, salesman, what are you selling? The guy says, it's how do I clean this up? It's one-piece pajamas, but the back opens fully. So never again will you have to choose between being warm and pooping. And Peter pulls out a check, hands it to the guy, and goes, write any number on this, sir, and I will pay it. Love that part. Why was I talking about the Family Guy? Crying out loud.
The guy was a jerk from the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't. You're never going to run into Peter from Family Guy because your product is so perfect, right? We have to build the client's emotional state. And sometimes we're starting 2 inches from the finish line, and sometimes we're starting in the parking lot behind the starting line. But here's the thing. Your job is to set the temperature in the room and get the client over to buying mode. That's your job. So just casually spending 16 minutes in a call and coming with your reasons it was impossible, it's just saying you were too lazy to do your job today. That's all there is to it. So we set the emotional climate. Clients just don't buy extra plumbing, HVAC, electrical things that they don't have to have this second. They buy relief, right? They buy future happiness. And at the end of the day, when it comes from us personally, they buy confidence. They buy the feeling that someone competent and emotionally stable has the situation under control. And if you can't self-regulate your emotions, you can't regulate the clients. How could you? You're so caught up in yourself.
Appreciate what you're saying there, Brian. And it makes me think of a conversation that I had with one of our comfort advisors lately.
Yeah, throw him under the bus, bro.
No, his name is Troy, and he's a fantastic part of our team. He actually joined. He's coming up on a year this spring, and he had a fantastic year last year. His first time selling HVAC equipment, but he had been in sales previously. But actually, before that, he and his wife toured on drama. They did musicals and plays around the country. Like professionally, this was his job. And so he's a well-skilled actor and, has the ability to convey emotion and all these types of things. And, something that I completely do not possess. Emotion as a concept is foreign to me, much less actually doing it on command, which he can do. But anyways, the reason I'm bringing it up is because I was just talking to him about his career and like some of the cool things that he did and asking him what his favorite musical was or his favorite production was and all this. And then he brought up the fact that there was a time when he was doing a tour for a production. I don't remember the name of it. And they were doing the tour like at the end of 2020, moving into 2021. And I don't know if you remember 2020, there was a lot of things going on, a lot of racial overtones occurring in the news, a lot of news cycles relevant to that. And in the play, his character was racist. Like his character was racist in the play. And they did this tour in a climate that was very volatile around this particular subject, and his character was racist. At the end of the show, when if you've ever been to a production, what do they do at the end of the show? All the actors come out and everybody's clapping or standing ovation, and typically they do some level of the minor actors come out first, and then it kind of builds and crescendos to get to the major actors at the very end, and that's usually when the loudest applause is occurring. When he did his curtain call, he got booed. Not his character. He got booed because the audience was unable to separate his character on stage with him as an actor simply conducting the lines and the behaviors of that character. He got booed. It was legitimately booing against him, not his character, against him. And the reason I bring this up is because this is what we are talking about today. People receive however you are acting as actually you. And if you are being perceived as upset or frustrated, angry, annoyed, disgruntled, bothered by them, their house, their problem, their situation, they're going to hold that against you, not you, the actor, but against you. And it will have a negative outcome. The inverse of that is also true, which is what Brian was talking about when he was being very kind and gracious to me, which is regardless of how I'm currently feeling, if I can act my way through an episode and on the other side of the episode, the listeners are benefited and nobody necessarily knows what I was thinking about or feeling or how my day was or what issue I was struggling with personally at that time. But I was able to portray the same level of excitement and enthusiasm that hopefully we bring every week to you. That is what you receive. You receive that perception as truth, which is one of the most powerful statements. Your perception is your truth, becomes your truth. Even if it is not actually true, what you perceive to be true is true to you. And so I want that, it struck me as like a nice parallel to what we're talking about today, that how you are acting, behaving in the home, whether it's real or not, is how the homeowner is perceiving you. And that is what they are going to register as real for them.
And for you, you will register as real. I was reading in Psychology Today, looking for articles on, I would say faking like manufacturing positivity, not faking, but like causing it in yourself when it didn't naturally exist. And that was, so I did a lot of reading on this Sunday evening, and then Monday morning trained our team in Phoenix on it. And then Tuesday evening was trying to read some more on it before I did a little presenting on it in Wiser Wednesday. And then later today did a little bit more reading as I'm turning this into a Waste No Day episode. And I remember where I came across it, but it was like, and I'm going to butcher the quote, but I don't know who said it anyway, so I guess they'll forgive me. But it was, we tend to think that our that our brains and bodies are wired in such a way that we smile when we're happy. But all through the psychology papers and studies that I could find, they argued that our bodily states influence our emotions as much or more oftentimes than our emotions influence our bodily states. And the quote that I'm saying was, it's not that we smile because we're happy. Oftentimes we will become happy because we smile. Now I remember reading that and going like, oh, can't be that simple though, right? And got myself in a somewhat not necessarily stressful conversation that could have easily been stressful at the shop today after I read that. And I started the conversation with a big smile that didn't belong there whatsoever. Like, it just didn't make any sense. And I said, what do I care? Like, what do I have to lose? I'm doing it. Ear to ear, baby. Squinting, Duquesne, eye creases, crow's feet, the whole nine. Yo, what's happening? Right? And I felt happy. I was like, son of a bee, that worked. And then I looked at the other person, and so were they. And then there was another person in the room, and that person was smiling too. And I was like, wow, there you go. There you go. Yeah, it works. So yeah, we don't just smile because we're happy. Oftentimes we feel happy because we smiled. And we change the physiology and the emotion follows, right? And that matters for techs and sales advisors driving to our fourth or fifth call today after 2 callbacks on somebody else, a tire kicker who wasn't even there and just said, email me the quotes, and a cancellation that took you an hour and 15 minutes to get to. And you're just in that rut of like, man, you could give me the best call on earth right now, and it's a block over from my house, and I'm going to struggle to be excited about it because we run on a tank, and that tank gets filled by sleep. Mm-hmm. And when that tank is on E, most of the time we need sleep, like a night off, to refill that tank, especially when it's an ultra negative day. So maybe if we sit in our van replaying the last one that didn't close, the waste of 2 hours of driving, well, our shoulders tighten and our jaw tightens up, right? And we get a little anxiety and a little cortisol spike. And we start priming our nervous system for more irritation. And this is why the Matthew principle is so real, right? To he who has more will be given, and from he who has not, even what little he has will be taken. It's like we go out and cause more of it by the way we look, sound, and feel to the people we're interacting with. And we knock on that door carrying that emotional state, and we get it right back from the client. That's why when somebody's on fire, like selling everything they touch, you throw them as many calls as possible because they're in that mood and they cause that mood in other people. Or we can interrupt it, right? We can throw in the Angel's Cocktail of David J.P. Phillips, and we can look at the picture of the family and see, yes, I remember that time. It makes me happy. Or, yes, this is why I do this. This is why I'm getting ready to go to this next one. And who cares what happened on the last one? I'm not taking this with me. I've done this too many times. For too many years, I did that. And it's not happening today, right? So I had certain things I could play. The 21 Great Ways to be a Sales Superstar. It's a YouTube video now by Brian Tracy. 21 Great Ways to be a Sales Superstar. It's an hour. It was the little clip of Brian Tracy's like 9-hour audiobook, The Psychology of Selling, that my mentor made me listen to 100 times straight before he would give me another audiobook. And it was funny because I just had sticky notes, and 1, 2, 3, 4, cross. 1, 2, 3, 4, cross. 20 of those. And I brought in these sticky notes with the Roman numerals, 20, 25 pieces, right? And the tape. And handed him the tape like, I'm finished. And then I handed him the sticky notes thinking like he was going to open them up and count them. Right in the trash. I was like, dang it. Then he opened the front opening plastic briefcase that was his cassette tape storage unit. And I see like 100 tapes. And I'm like, bro, are you serious? But it did something to me. And maybe it was the nostalgia of that time because it was like my first few months in a truck at Ken Goodrich's operation, Yes Plumbing in Las Vegas. And it was that tape and that time was what made me fall in love with the concept of professional salesmanship and being a professional communicator and realizing that I could become so good at communicating that I could make you feel the way that I feel about a product that you don't know anything about. Even though when I get there, you're defensive, right? I'm so pumped about this thing that I can make you pumped about it. If I say the right things and I act the right way. And I loved it. I thought this was the coolest concept ever. And then I could get paid to do this on top of it. You gotta be kidding me. It's like it's too easy, right? I would find out quickly that easy was the one thing it wasn't going to be, but all the other positive things were there for sure. Easy was not. But yeah, so you get your passion back. Watch a short clip that makes you laugh every time, or one that I used before the second boot camp. It's like Britain's Got Talent or something. This little British girl who's just adorable and just shy. Like there's no way she's going to get up here and sing. And she freaking belts this song out. And the whole audience is crying and all the judges are bawling. And I don't know the show. I don't watch it, but my wife and daughters made me watch this video one time. And I was like, a little, almost choked up. If I was a crier, if I wasn't so stoic, then I'd have been bawling then. But my wife and my little girls are tearing up watching it, probably for the 30th time, showing me. And then they immediately, it's like, boom, they have these buttons they hit, and the confetti comes out, like you won the golden whatever, like you're guaranteed in, just like that. And she's bawling, and mom's bawling, and like, it was great video. And that made me feel something. And the fact that I watched it at my kitchen island with my wife and 2 youngest daughters who were emotional about it, watching it now creates that moment again for me. So the moment itself in the video is great, and where I first watched it was great. So it creates all those things, and you're going to have to find the one that does that for you, right? The thing that does some of these things for you, and have them at your disposal, and really be able to jar yourself, rock yourself to the core with positivity. And I still think gratitude is easy as it gets, right? But you got to come up with some genuine gratitude to make it happen. So yeah. And then it shifts your emotional state, shifts your breathing, shifts your posture. And then you go in a completely different mindset, and the client treats you completely differently than they would have otherwise. And that's the part early in a sales career, certainly for me, but for people I train as well, that we don't like to give a lot of credence to, is that doing A causes B. It just does. So I can completely shift my mindset, my emotional state, and it will cause the client to treat me a different way from the handshake. So that if I'm getting a lot of clients who are treating me a way that I don't like, there's a tough part. It's my fault. I'm causing it. Because I have to be, like David Sandler said, the old sales trainer, sales is a Broadway show put on by a psychologist. You have to be a skilled actor and a shrink to be high level at this thing. But you want to be high level at this thing, right? Or why bother? So, and it's not just sales, like I said in the beginning, it's leadership. Whether we run a team or whatever, or just have an apprentice, our default setting is visible frustration, sarcasm, eye rolls, constant pressure without warmth. Well, then our team or apprentice or what have you will negotiate defensively with us, and everything is them feeling like they need to watch their back. And they'll hide mistakes and weaknesses, and they won't be able to get better. And avoid ownership, because ownership with a poor leader is expensive. So they protect themselves instead of stretching beyond their current capability. Leading with controlled positivity has the opposite effect. High standards, psychological safety without lowering expectations. And that combination produces performance.
Well, I think that's a great place to wrap it up, Brian. And this has been a good reminder to us how your emotions can either fund your paycheck or they can cost you your clients. They can either work for you or they can work against you. And the ability to manage and control your emotions in so many ways influences not only who you are, but who people think you are, and your ability to then have successful outcomes in all areas of your life. I can tell you that I aim to be a steady, consistent father, a steady, consistent husband, a steady, consistent manager, a steady, consistent community member. I want that in my life because it's important. And while sometimes the high highs, I probably miss out on, but I'm also going to miss out on the low lows. For those of you who are having erratic swings or allowing whatever the predominant emotion of the day is to influence you, proceed with caution. It could end up costing you. Hopefully we pointed that out in many different ways. about the impacts of that today on this episode. And we'd sure love to hear from you about which piece of it stood out to you as something that either you have found and learned or something that you could improve on and would like to be challenged in. We'd love to hear your feedback and share this episode around as you feel worthy to hear or to have somebody else hear the content in it. We'd love to hear their feedback as well. We're going to leave it now with our weekly challenge, which continues to be the same, to choose to wake up. And a reminder about that choose part, to choose to wake up each and every morning and waste no day.